A scientist once let a bullet ant sting him on purpose and said it felt like getting shot. That's not even the worst one on this list. There's a guy named Justin Schmidt who spent years getting stung by insects on purpose just to rank the pain. He created something called the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, and today we're going through the most brutal entries on that list, plus a few others that are just as bad. Some of these stings last a few seconds, some last hours, and one of them, you're gonna feel it for an entire day. We're counting these down from painful to absolutely unbearable. Stay until the end because the last one is something most people have never even heard of, and it makes a bee sting feel like nothing. Most people think the worst thing a bug can do to you is leave a little red bump that itches for a day. And honestly, for most insects, that's true. A mosquito bite, a regular bee sting, annoying, sure, but nothing that's going to ruin your life. But some insects are built differently. Some of them have venom so powerful that the pain goes beyond anything you'd expect from something that small. We're talking pain that makes grown adults cry, collapse, or lock themselves in a dark room until it's over. The crazy part? Most of these insects aren't in some far-off jungle. Some of them might already live near you. Let's get into it. The honeybee. Let's start with the one almost everyone has experienced at least once. A honeybee sting sits at a 2 out of 4 on Schmidt Scale. He described it as burning, corrosive, but you can handle it. That's not exactly comforting, but compared to what's coming later, the honeybee is basically a warm-up. The real issue with honeybee stings isn't the pain itself, it's what happens after. When a bee stings you, it leaves its stinger behind. That stinger keeps pumping venom into your skin even after the bee is gone. So if you don't remove it fast, the pain gets worse. And if you're allergic, a single honeybee sting can kill you. Thousands of people end up in the hospital every year from bee stings. So while it might be the lowest on this list, don't ever sleep on a honeybee. The yellow jacket wasp. Yellow jackets are basically bees that decided to be mean about it. They don't die when they sting you. They can sting you over and over again. And unlike bees, they don't need a reason. They can be aggressive even when you're not bothering them. Schmidt described a yellow jacket sting as hot and smoky. It sits at a 2 on his scale as well, but people who've been stung by both say yellow jackets feel nastier. The venom is slightly different, and when they sting multiple times, the pain builds up fast. Yellow jackets are also everywhere. North America, Europe, Asia. If you've spent time outside in summer, you've probably been near one without knowing it. The paper wasp. Paper wasps are a step up from yellow jackets, landing at a 3 on the scale. Schmidt's description: caustic and burning, distinctly bitter aftertaste, like spilling a beaker of hydrochloric acid on a paper cut. That's a very specific comparison, and honestly, that's what makes Schmidt's work so interesting. The man had a gift for describing pain in a way that you can almost feel just by reading it. Paper wasps build those open umbrella-shaped nests you sometimes see hanging under roof edges or in trees. Get too close and they will defend it hard. One sting is bad. A full nest attacking you? That's a different story entirely. The red harvester ant. Most people don't think of ants as dangerous, but the red harvester ant wants to change your mind. These ants are huge compared to what you normally see, about ½ an inch long, and their sting hits a 3 on the pain scale. Schmidt described it as bold and unrelenting, like someone is using a drill to excavate your ingrown toenail. What makes harvester ants especially rough is how long the pain lasts. A bee sting might hurt for 5 to 10 minutes. A harvester ant sting can keep hurting for 4 hours straight. It doesn't let up. It just sits there, deep in your skin like a hot nail that won't go away. These ants live in the American Southwest and Mexico. If you've ever hiked in that region and stepped near a big sandy mound without realizing it, you probably already know what we're talking about. The bald-faced hornet. Now we're starting to get into territory where people don't just say ouch. They say words we can't repeat on YouTube. The bald-faced hornet is a large black and white wasp found across North America. Schmidt gave it a 2 on the scale, but many entomologists and people who've been stung argue it deserves higher. The intensity of a single sting, combined with the fact that these hornets are extremely aggressive and often sting in groups, makes them a serious threat. Schmidt described it as rich, hearty, slightly crunchy, similar to getting your hand mashed in a revolving door. These hornets have smooth stingers, which means, just like yellow jackets, they can sting you multiple times in a row. Their nests are those big gray paper balls you sometimes see high up in trees. Leave them alone, and they'll leave you alone. Disturb the nest? Run. The Tarantula Hawk wasp. Okay, this is where things start getting genuinely terrifying. The Tarantula Hawk is a large metallic blue wasp with bright orange wings. It lives in deserts across the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Europe, and it hunts tarantulas. Not because it eats them, but because it paralyzes them and lays its eggs inside their body so the larvae can eat them alive. Yeah. So when something that does that to a tarantula stings a human, you know it's not going to be gentle. Schmidt rated the Tarantula Hawk at a 4, the highest score on his original scale. His description: blinding, fierce, shockingly electric. A running hairdryer has just been dropped into your bubble bath. The pain is so intense that Schmidt's advice, completely serious advice, is to just lie down and start screaming. He says there's nothing else you can really do. You can't think straight, you can't form words, you just have to wait it out. The good news? It only lasts about 3 to 5 minutes at full intensity. The bad news? We still have 2 more entries that are worse. The warrior wasp. This one doesn't get talked about as much as the bullet ant to the tarantula hawk, but it absolutely deserves a spot here. Warrior wasps, also called Sinoica septentrionalis, are a tropical species found in Central and South America. They're highly social, extremely aggressive, and they swarm. When they sting, Schmidt described it as torture. You are chained in the flow of an active volcano. That's a 4 on his scale, same as the tarantula hawk. But people who've experienced both say the warrior wasp feels more overwhelming because of how many sting at once. These aren't lone hunters, they come in numbers. They're also known for a behavior called drumming. They bang their bodies against their nest in a synchronized rhythm to warn predators. If you hear that sound in the jungle, the smart move is to back away slowly and not make sudden movements. The bullet ant. This is the one you've probably heard of. The bullet ant gets its name from exactly what you'd expect. Being stung by one feels like getting shot. Schmidt gave it the highest possible rating on his scale and described it as pure, intense, brilliant pain, like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail embedded in your heel. What makes bullet ants different from almost everything else on this list is how long the pain lasts. It doesn't fade after a few minutes. It doesn't calm down after half an hour. A bullet ant sting causes full, overwhelming, wave after wave pain for up to 24 hours. That's a full day. Bullet ants live in the rainforests of Central and South America. They're about an inch long, which is enormous for an ant, and you can hear them moving through the leaf litter if you're quiet enough. There's also a rite of passage practiced by the Sateri Mawe tribe in Brazil, where young men wear gloves filled with hundreds of bullet ants for 10 minutes as a test of strength. They do this 20 times before they're considered a warrior. That's not a metaphor. That's what actually happens. The Executioner Wasp. Most people have never heard of this one, and that might be the scariest thing about it. The Executioner Wasp, Polistes carnifex, lives in Central and South America, and in recent years it's been getting attention from people in the insect sting community as potentially the most painful sting that exists. Some people who've experienced both the bullet ant and the Executioner Wasp say the Executioner is worse. There's a YouTuber named Coyote Peterson who is known for intentionally getting stung by some of the most painful insects in the world. When he got stung by the Executioner Wasp, his reaction was unlike anything he showed from the bullet ant or Tarantula Hawk. He couldn't speak. He couldn't stand. His arm went almost completely numb and then started burning so badly he had to lie on the ground. He described it as the most intense pain he had ever felt from an insect sting. The name Executioner isn't there for show. These wasps are known for being relentless hunters. They chew up prey, including other insects and spiders, and feed the mashed-up remains to their larvae. They're fast, aggressive when threatened, and their venom carries compounds that researchers are still studying because they're not fully understood yet. The pain from an executioner sting reportedly involves burning, throbbing, and a deep, heavy ache that sets in after the initial sharpness fades. It can last hours. And yet, somehow, this is still only number 2. The Maricopa Harvester Ant. Not a wasp, not a hornet, an ant. The Maricopa Harvester Ant holds the title of the most venomous insect in the world based on LD50. That's the measurement scientists use to figure out how much of a substance it takes to kill half of a test population. The venom of the Maricopa Harvester Ant is 12 times more potent than a honeybee sting. It would take about 12 bee stings per pound of body weight to kill a human. With Maricopa Harvester ants, it's closer to just a few stings per pound. These ants live in the desert southwest of the United States and parts of Mexico. They're not rare, they're actually pretty common if you know where to look, and most people don't, which is exactly how you end up stumbling into a nest. Schmidt described their sting as after 8, blinding, fierce, and enduring. It sits at a 3 on his original pain scale, which seems lower than the bullet ant, but the venom toxicity is what puts this ant at the top of this list. The reason the bullet ant is more famous for pain is because that pain is so intense and so long-lasting that it becomes the experience you remember. But in terms of raw venom potency, the Maricopa Harvester Ant is the deadliest insect stinger on the planet. And it lives in backyards in Arizona. So here's what we've gone through today. From honeybees that leave their stingers behind, to paper wasps that feel like a chemical burn, to the Tarantula Hawk that makes you want to lie down and scream, all the way to bullet ants that ruin your entire day, and an executioner wasp that YouTube nearly can't capture. But the one that sits at number 1 isn't about pain, it's about how dangerous the venom actually is. And it's an ant you could walk past in a parking lot in the Southwest without thinking twice. The world is full of small things that can absolutely destroy you if you're not paying attention. Watch the next video if you want to see what happens when humans get too close to these creatures in the wild.